Boom. And we are live. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. We are ready to rock and roll. As soon as I get some sugar, some chocolate, and some caffeine into my brain. I hope you're doing all right. Let me arrange some of the mic levels. Can you confirm that you can hear me all right, by the way? Okay, now it should sound better. Hello, everybody. 11 people watching. Hello, Bob Neiman. Hello, Unknown. Hello, Bosch Gezanyan. Hello, Dan McAleer. Hello, Kuro Minami, long-time viewer. Hello, Calliope Crane. Bob Neiman. And Flowzone, who asks, is the Mars bar a reference to the new discoveries on Mars? And as you may or may not know, they did discover some microfossils on Mars that looked like they were made by life forms, which I always suspected, to be honest. So let's settle in. Call your friends. This is just the intro phase now. Call everyone you know while I eat the Mars bar. And 16 people watch. What a day we're living in. Go straight to the head. Chocolate and chocolate and caffeine. My mind can't function without them. Hello to Lux Aterna. Hello to Hayden. Some B Guitar says, my favorite Koch High School enjoyer is life. Well, I'm a graduate of said Koch High School, and it made me who I am today in all the good ways. Arguably more influential than college, high school. Is that how it goes in your country, everybody? Is college a bigger influence than, well, is elementary school a bigger influence than college? For me, it was. Okay. I'm also trying to I hope you can hear me all right. The mic volume keeps lowering itself, but maybe not my problem. In Canada, apparently college is a bigger influence than high school, obviously. Bob Neiman says, I was raised by grandparents. So generational divide led to a unique kind of indifference to anything having to do with emotions. Were you raised in Germany, if I may ask? Because Germans have that kind of no soul kind of thing. Well, apparently I ate a chocolate that was being boycotted, I'm sorry, but also slightly don't care. Whether you're trying to buy organic clothes to help the environment or boycotting companies to affect some geopolitical outcome, the individual actually has it's mainly cosmetic and a psychological placebo effect. If the governments wanted, they could change everything in one day. And when the responsibility is offloaded to an end user, especially with like industrial contexts, people have the power to produce millions of chocolate bars. But buying one or two doesn't really make, like, the government could like easily stop the import of those chocolate bars if they wanted to do something. And actually, the company that owns Mars, as far as I know, is a family-owned, non-publicly traded company. So as far as FMCG goes, fast-moving consumer goods go, I think this company, I think it's Cat. I don't know what the main company is called, but they make Mars, Snickers, Bounty, and a few other things, and they're very niche and limited. I would rather eat this than some pap made by Unilever or Ülker. So yeah. Anyways, don't get me started. I wish I had millions of chocolate bars right now, says Window Lizard. Yes. 1815 says hi, hi. Bob Newman says, no, I was raised not by soulless Germans, but in Texas by a Hispanic family with old school traditions where men don't show emotions. Well, I think in those like lessons, there's always a little grain of truth. You don't have to be totally anodyne, but sometimes not revealing your hand or not letting how you feel to a reasonable degree, it can actually help build your character. But I don't know your parents, and I don't know what mistakes you think they did while raising you, so I don't know. Ignoram says, hello world. Aporo Varshinev says, you are actually the writer of All Tomorrows. Oh my God. Yes, it is he speaking. And today, on the 22nd of September 2025, I actually have great news for you. I'll just show you. So the All Tomorrows book is happening. And if you are in the UK, but only if you are in the UK, repeat, only if you are in the UK, repeat, only if you are in the United Kingdom, you can now pre-order All Tomorrows from Waterstones, which is the biggest bookseller of the UK. And there's even a discount code if you pre-order. So you click this. I don't know how this shit works now, and I don't want to reveal anything private. But if you use the code Myriad, I'll just write it down for you. Just use the fancy code Myriad. Okay, that's a D. My D's are triangles. Okay. Use the code with all tomorrows, but only from Waterstones, okay? And then you can get a discount order, and your life will be brighter and happier. Can us Turkish fans buy it with the code? If you live in the UK, you can. Only in the UK. Only in the UK. I'm going to beat my head on rocks saying this. Only in the UK as of the 22nd of September 2025. Later on, we will roll this out in more online platforms. Don't get all tomorrows from Amazon yet, because the dysfunctional copy from the previous publisher is there, and you don't need that. Is it only in the UK? Only in the UK now. Soon the world. Soon there's gonna be. I'll tell everybody about this, but not now. But there's gonna be a big rollout in the US of A, and then actually you'll be able to find the book in actual physical bookshops when you go there. And for our Turkish viewers, you will eventually be able to buy it internationally and shipped to Turkey. And I spoke about this at length, but for there to be a Turkish translation, a Turkish publisher needs to contact my publisher, which is now Wilton Square Books, okay? I'll make you a diagram, okay? I'll make you a fucking diagram like those big liberal streamers do, with Destiny and everybody. They're talking and they want to say, okay, so imagine this argument is here, and then they make a stupid fucking drawing. But I have to do the same now. I used to think that it would just be me going to the book publisher and they make and sell all the books, okay? This is how I thought life was. Okay? Turns out, oh boy, I only give the rights to the publisher, which is Wilton Square, okay? And now these guys are in the UK. But imagine in Turkey, there's another publisher. I don't know who this is, but this is Turkey. These guys buy the rights from Wilton Square and they handle the translation and the adaptation. And so, like, these Turkish publishers, whoever they are, whoever they will be, if they will ever be, pay my publisher. And then I get a cut of the royalties of the copies sold in Turkey or any other country. But these guys have to put their money where their mouth is. And they have to pay for the translation, for the printing and the distribution costs. And so it's up to these guys. Like, a publisher in Turkey has to contact Wilton Square. And, well, if they're good with their line of work, maybe they can take this up. But I will tell you, like, off the record, well, I'm on the record now because this is a fucking live stream. Turkish publishers, I don't want to tarnish them all, but there are some really cheap actors among them. What they do is, like, I had a publisher contact me from his Hotmail account. And I said, please contact me from your official email account. And he was taken back. He was literally disappointed or like angry or irksome. And they try to fuck you over with every word. Don't believe a word that comes out of their mouth. Flowzone says, could you make the translation yourself? Would it create problems? Why should I bother? Why should I bother? It's up to them. They have to do a good job. I'm not getting paid for the translation. And this is a problem with maybe if you live in a similar country like, I don't know, Argentina or, I don't know, Uzbekistan, wherever, you got this similar problem. But the people pretending to be publishers, sometimes, not all of them, maybe they're just some bad apples, maybe they're just some bad hombres. Really fucking unprofessional. They are really unprofessional. They try to cut costs. Translations from English or any competent world language into Turkish are usually crap. I won't name any names, but a publisher I talked in Turkey, a Turkish publisher, actually proposed removing the pictures and cutting the book so it would be easier to understand and easier to print. I said, get lost. Jerry Caleb says, do you get final approval of the translations in the language you speak? I think I may have a final say. And yeah, it's just a very look, Turkey has great walkable cities, great nature, great history, lovely cats. What it doesn't have is in business or work, it's a very low trust society. It's a very low. I would sooner trust individuals rather than companies or the government. And same goes for everybody else. Beer Hut Guitar says, so the rights of the Turkish version will be on the Turkish publisher, right? Exactly. But it's on them. Anyways. The book market in Turkey is wild, says Boş Gezen Yan. There are authors who would eat other authors alive just to have their book sold next to the checkout at Migros. Yeah, in more ways than one. A lot of dick sucking goes on behind the scenes too. Anyways, look, I don't want this to be like a negative stream. I want this to be a positive stream. Ethiopia says, hello, how do you do, brother? I'm doing well, thank you. MT says, I love how you're figuring out how to navigate all these challenges, advocate for yourself, and stand your ground. Onward, fierce warrior. Thank you so much. In a lot of countries, it's very easy to turn money into books, but it's very hard to turn books into money. And I'm talking about All Tomorrows. Anybody who's heard of the book probably knows how to read English. So there's like a little point in just, yeah. Jerry Caleb says, I sold some comics. I want to replenish inventory at my local shop today. Well, best of luck. Turn it into a day. Go have some coffee or some like nice snacks or some like, if you have it, home cooked meals before or after the copy shop. Turn it into a day. Apori Varginev says, I can't believe you are so accessible to public. Thank you. I tried to make it a virtue. I was growing up, I was inspired by artists like Wayne Barlow or Hans Rudi Giger, H.R. Giger. Trouble is, these people were like, the internet wasn't real, and I just grew up in a vacuum, literally. supported by family and the Koch School and Cornell University and whatever. But everything I did, at least in terms of science fiction, I did it in a personal vacuum. So I try to be the kind of author I would want to be around me when I was younger. So I try to be accessible to everybody. Of course, there are limits. I can't sort out your problems if you got like deep driven family issues or whatever. Like, but I can listen. Yeah. And I also try to like break this sort of otaku mold. That is to say, I would hate to be a sci fi author who only talks about sci fi. I think that's a very limited look in the world. So I want to be a more like grounded but also more multidimensional person. Apori Vajinev says, do you like drugs or alcohol? Actually, I don't like either. Some people, before they meet me, they think I'm this major stoner or LSD guy or I don't know, like big like what was the guy who wrote Naked Lunch? Wait. Yeah, some people imagine me somebody like William S. Burroughs, who was like shooting up heroin and like went through multiple addictions, was a heroin addict, was an alcohol addict, was like a deranged person at one point. But he lived to be like, I think, 92 or 97. So he raw dogged life. Me, I play it a bit safer. So no drugs and almost very little alcohol. I mean, it's once in a blue moon, literally. Speaking of the blue moon, we got this light over here. I hope you can see it here. Yeah. Now that's a magic light I can change the color of. Now, what color would you want to see it in? Louis J says, do you like William Gibson? I've only heard praise about him, but unfortunately, I have to start reading him. Unknown says, make the light go red. Kuro Minami says, make the light go pink. Okay. Creatures in All Tomorrows are pretty fucked up, says Aporovi Vajinev. Well, those are like creatures in All Tomorrows. They're based on my understanding of natural history. Like the worm people, for example. I'll show you. Wait. Okay, the worm people, everybody knows in All Tomorrows. Like, right? Wait. Wait, I'm just loading some images now. Wait. Okay. So the worms in All Tomorrows, okay? They look like this. They've got atrophied legs, eyes, noses, everything. Everybody knows these guys. When girlfriend asks, would you still love me if I was a worm person, says Louis J. You should always love. Make this test to yourself with your girlfriend, significant other, whatever, boyfriend. Imagine if half of their face was torn away in a car accident. Would you still stand by them? The answer must be yes. If it's not yes, then just have fun and move on. Don't steal that person's time either. Okay, so these are, I'm going back to Apori Varginev's comment saying like the creatures in Old Tomorrows look pretty fucked up because, and thus maybe he assumed I was a William Gibson type stoner, or I don't know, heroin pusher, or self-stabbing oxycodone addict or some shit. Thing is, no, most of these creatures, the inspiration for them comes from natural history. I'll just show you. There are like, for example, lots of lizards, and I'm trying to find a good picture of one. Okay, here's one. There's lots of lizards and lots of snakes who have a very similar adaptation. So these animals came from, you can see one on the screen. These animals came from like lizards with 4 legs, but as you see here, they have a lizard head. They even have an eye here, a small noses, a mouth with teeth. And I think these guys even have legs somewhere. Maybe not on this photo. But yeah, it's like a bizarre thing, you know? So I just applied what I see in natural history to the human form. And actually, that's how All Tomorrows first got its start, as like a portfolio of like strange adaptations, and there was no story. But as it grew, I said, maybe I should write a story. And I wrote a story, and that's that. When that thing gets bigger, it makes spice melange, says Wizard of Coz, referring to the worms, the sandworms in the Dune universe. MT says, are you still working on marine critters for Snyad? That's my other world design project. With insectoid mouths. Actually, yes, I am. Kuro Minami says, did you make the drawings in All Tomorrows digitally or traditionally? I can show you. They're all real. Traditional art. This is the All Tomorrows folder. These are like 20 years old now, 20 years old. But these are like the actual drawings. Louis J said, Snyhead is what broke my speculative biology high, man. But yeah, these are like the actual things. And these are actually for sale too. I am selling them. And don't be surprised, the asking price is $1,000 per painting, which is a steal if you think about it. So get in touch if you want to acquire All Tomorrow's originals. I already sold a few, if you can't believe it. So I actually just sat down with watercolors and pencil and just painted everything. And the resolution is so nice that you can see the individual skin folds and like villages in the background and everything. And with these, of course, there are some digital manipulations and additions too. For example, this was the snake people painting, okay? And you can see here how the eyes I later altered on Photoshop. And of course, everything has a texture that's applied in Photoshop too. I'll actually show you how I made the textures, so just you wait, okay? I'm just going to take a little screenshot here. So, okay, I'm going to show you how to make the All Tomorrows effect. And obviously, like digitally, for example, here I changed the drawing here. So, yeah. But a lot of stuff is like actually on the paper and really drawn and illustrated. So that's that. Farnk says, these are gorgeous. That's all creativity, true and true. No drugs needed. Thank you. Yes. You can see it in the intentions of the pencil strokes. Thank you. Hashmir Ferning says, really cool. Apori Varshinev says, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let me show you. Let me actually boot up. So I'll actually give you a life hack too. Hakan says, the king is here. Well, hello. Hello, my dear friend. Okay, so somebody said we should make this light red. So let me do that. Bam! I'll tell you what though, red. Okay, let's make it bisexual gamer purple. I think that's a better color. Yes. So okay. I'm gonna show you the All Tomorrow's background effect, okay? Just a second. Just bear with me. I'm just getting a texture. Okay, this is a good one. Okay, so now I'm going to share you. By the way, there's this website called Photopia. It's an online app you can access through your desktop. And it's exactly like a one-to-one mirror of Photoshop. And it's a lifesaver, Photopia or Photopea, whatever. BTW6301 says purple, 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 purple. Unknown says, oh, I said red. Well, red is too dark. So, yeah, I also don't want the studio to look like a whorehouse kind of thing. So, yeah. So, yeah, this is Photopia, okay? And now I'm putting another layer. As you can see, the layers are on the right-hand side, okay? What I used to do, so normally there's this thing called the blend mode, which you can use to give a certain like strange way to mix the texture you have, okay? But back when I was doing All Tomorrows, I did not know about how to apply blend mode. So what I did was I just made the opacity into, well, 50% just with the normal mode, the textures on top. Then I flatten everything. So it's like one layer, flatten image, okay. And then I went to just brightness and contrast, and just increase the contrast and decrease the brightness. And that was like a unique way to blend the layers. And it really adds this texture to, well, all the images you do. And you can see this is a very low resolution example, of course. I just used the screenshot of the image I was showing to you. But even here, you can see there's lots of texturing and lots of atmospheric aberrations. And like, it really makes it come to life. And there are all these random associations between the picture and the texture. So it really makes the picture come alive. So that is that. Oh, what a weird dream. Yes, it's back. Whoever recommended turning it off and back on again, thank you. You back says Lux Aterna. Yes. Zapagogas says Big Cosman. Yes, we're back. We're so back. Sorry, letting my age show with this shit, huh? Thank you, everybody, for your patience. And now we're back to 19 viewers again. Well, call your friends and I don't know, call everyone back so we can get the conversation back on the road. Yes, yay, says unknown one. Ingaram says, do you play any instruments? Not really. What kind of music do you listen to? A lot of things. Do not open Photograd, says Beer Hut Guitar. Yes, I'm never touching that app again. That's the price you pay for free photo editing. Apori Varshinev says, you're a normal, cool guy. I expected at least some weirdness. Well, thank you. Well, 22 people watching. Let's get the show back on the road. And why don't you all tell me, where are you from? We can do a global shout out. And then we can talk about current affairs, of which there are many. It seems to me that the world is edging closer and closer towards like some centrifugal event which will destroy a lot of things and I don't know, start things all over again. But yeah, more on that later. Fossilized Fool is from the States. American here, definitely agree. So let's get a roll call. Where's everyone from? Where's everyone from? Where's everyone from? I'll put these back and I'll be right back myself. All right. Lord Grunwalder says SA, which in Turkish means Selamun Aleyküm, which means hello. In English, it means something else. Unknown is from Denizli, Turkey. Kurominami is from, well, Turkey. Ingarams from Bosnia. Louis J. from London. MT is from the far northern weirdness of northern New York between Lake Ontario and the Adirondack Mountains, close to where I once was years and years ago in another lifetime. Lux Aterna is from Lithuania. Apori Vajinev is from India. Which city? It's a huge, huge country, almost a continent. Turan is from Finland. BTW is in the middle of nowhere in Canada. Well, I'm really blessed to have a lot of viewers from all over the world. I think this week, especially like these couple of days in US politics, you know how when you're like, you have an accident and like you're wounded, the pain comes later. So in the same way, I think this week, only this week, is the pain of or trauma of the Charlie Kirk assassination in the United States. Only is it biting or starting to bite now. I think there's a lot of genuine sadness about this event, but also the government is turning this into a sort of a martyr narrative. Now, actually, believe it or not, all I knew about Charlie Kirk was that he had a big head. He didn't look very sightly. And he was, I assumed he was an agitator. And he was, I think, his main task was collecting votes among college students for Trump. And I think he did that admirably. So after he got assassinated, actually slightly before he got killed, There was a South Park episode which made rolling fun of him, like it made him seem like a buffoon, and I guess he was a little bit of that. But then after he got killed, now he's like an angel, or he was like a guy who was bringing everyone together. He only wanted to talk. So I wanted to find this out for myself, and actually I listened to hours of Charlie Kirk clips from a positive angle, like best Charlie Kirk clips or best Charlie Kirk takedowns or whatever. And my assessment of the situation now is that if he wasn't assassinated, he would have just have been a mundane, moderate, kind of boring mm, 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 debate bro. But I don't think he did anything to warrant a shooting. I always assumed maybe he was more extreme, or he was somebody like the Westboro Baptists. And if you don't know who those are, like the Westboro Baptist Church, it's a very notorious unaffiliated church, and they have extreme, strange, bizarre messaging. Like whenever there's for example, somebody dies in Iraq and there's a funeral, these Westboro Baptists are out there and they say he was a fag, God hates fags and whatever. So I thought he was really extreme. Turns out no, he was just in some clips he even comes across as if I might dare say so, not an asshole. He still wasn't like a believer in democracy or like a proponent of democratic values or something, but he was like a very regular person. And now this death, I think the government is going to use this as an excuse to push in things like massive internet censorship, maybe something like Real ID. They're gonna they're gonna do the homeland security thing to the internet now, using this as an excuse. And I don't think the government or hidden forces did it. I think this was just it really was what it seemed like. And when something like this happens, there's always figures in the sidelines waiting, rubbing their hands. Where can we bring in more technology, more legislation, more threat assessments, and more non-existent enemies? So that's what happened, I think. I also I conducted a poll among my own followers, actually, saying actually, we did this last stream too. And a lot of people said good riddance. But I don't think it's something worth celebrating. If anything, it's going to make more extreme right-wing people. And yeah, it's like a really I hadn't understood what a big event this was for the US, because I don't live there now. Let's take a look at what people are saying. I don't like Charlie Kirk, but people trying to claim he was a Nazi, I think is absurd. I think I agree. I feel assassinations are starting to become normal in the USA. That's one of the scary things. I mean, years ago when I was studying in Cornell University, and I looked like this. The Iraq War was the divisive issue, okay? And there was a student newspaper with a big op-ed about why we should invade Iraq. And well, I was really furious. So I started collecting stacks of these newspapers wherever they were posted, and I started throwing them in the trash. Next week, there was an email circulated in the dorm saying somebody has been trashing these campus newspapers. And I think they gave me a life lesson. I will never forget that. It's the way we combat ideas is with other ideas. And please stop this, the email said. So I learned a valuable lesson. Yeah, but now it's like that. But with assassinations involved. Moderate debate is the opposite of polarized screaming insanity, says MTV. MT. I agree. Flow Zone says Charlie Kirk usually looked for easy targets. Yeah, I could see that. They always like I could see in the clips they always edit it so it looks like he's like handing it to the most annoying students, and yeah, that's a L on his part. Jerry Caleb says Charlie Kirk modulated his tone to fit with the audience. I noticed that too. He acts more like just a man asking questions when he's debating opponents, but in front of a religious right-wing crowd he could be more extreme. I've noticed that, and I think we all his like most notorious clips to like settings like those, huh? For some reason people blame furries and trans people for his death. I don't think the World Trans Organization or the World Furry Organization or DeviantArt came together and orchestrated this, but it seems like his assassin really was radicalized in that sort of a setting. He is MAGA Horst Wessel says flows on. Yeah, yeah. Omnia says, how's it going, Cevdet abi? It's going well. I mean, here's what it feels like an outsider, okay? I need to pick my words carefully. In America, American youth, politics is in some ways not as consequential to them as it is to young people in some other parts of the world. So you have this sort of weird and probably unique form of polytainment. And it was about Gaza until last week. Until last week, every college aged kid in the US was fighting, debating, creating content about Gaza and Israel's ethnic cleansing in Gaza. And in some cases, this bled into like really weird tangents. Like there's a whole small toxic universe of like Hassan Abi, YouTube streamers like Hassan Abi, Destiny, or even worse figures like Frogan or Ethan Klein. And they have all these dramas and like beef, but it's just like an episode of Jersey Shore with like some yapping about politics attached. And at one point, politics don't really matter. And you just start watching these figures trashing each other. And it's fun. It's slop, but it's fun. It's polytainment slop. So now the cycle shifted again. So now everybody's talking about well, Charlie Kirk and assassination and debates and everything. The new right, we've had enough. It's a really interesting thing to behold, especially as an outsider. The news cycle forgot all about it, says Aporivajinev. MT says lizard brain can't access cortex, reason, and intellect. I think some lizards are like that blind lizard I showed you is way smarter than some people on those left and right wing drama YouTube spaces. Louis J says it's ironic that Charlie Kirk claimed that gun deaths were worth it to maintain the Second Amendment. Then God made him test that hypothesis. Yeah, true, but I think this is an easy comeback. Everybody's talking about Hassan Abi, who's my compatriot, Boş Gezenyan says, you gotta know Hasan abi's dad. So Hasan abi is the son of Mehmet Behçet Piker. And actually, a lot of stuff about this guy's name is scrubbed online. You can't find. He's a very influential, like, dare I say, almost like a silent kingmaker figure, or maybe not a kingmaker, but in political parties, you got people who are like the yapping frontsmen, and then you got people in the background who hold the actual power. And it's clear to see he's one of these people who hold the actual power. And I don't know. And Hassan Abi is exactly the sort of person America rewards. And you will realize this was an insult after 2 days pass. You're like, ah. Also, I'm really surprised nobody's leaning into. Should I even say this? But when you gotta move a lot of money without a trace, or maybe launder some money without a trace, Twitch donations are actually a legit way to do it. And I'm certain not all of Hasan Abi's wealth is from like, fellow leftists donating on Twitch, but his parents obviously park some of their assets with him. So I'm surprised, like, he has millions of enemies online, left and right, but nobody's looked into that angle. This is why I love this channel so much. So we're talking about Hasan Abi once, and suddenly the Dark Master says, any thoughts about Tuataras and their extinct relatives? Sphenacodonta. Have you heard of the Portia spider, says Turan. Portia is this spider, is a jumping spider, which is very smart, and it can actually adapt different hunting strategies to catch different sorts of prey. Here's what they look like. Berat Guitar says, let's leave American politics and talk about spiders. Well, this is Portia, and it's very cute, and they look like these little balls of lint, and they're very smart. And actually, seeing these spiders in action was one of the things that convinced me that there's something intrinsic about living, about just being alive, that endows living things with a soul of their own. It's not just a matter of how many neurons you have in your head. And it's just like every living thing has a soul and a conscience and a spirit. Yeah. Berat Guitar says, could they drive a truck? I guess they could. MT says, haha, so are your lizard worm. Okay. BTW says, when will you start your drama streamer arc? Will you snark on other streamers? Place your bets. Well, I would sooner do OnlyFans than do that. I've spoken about this at length, but imagine like you waking up, you record a stream for 5 hours straight, and then you Photoshop your enemy's head, make him or her look ugly, and then maybe you Photoshop your head and you look cool, and then it's a life wasted. I would sooner do OnlyFans and make a lot more money faster. Something says spider heart. Oh, I love this thing so much. Wait, I wonder if I can pin this. Yeah, that's a nice message. Thank you, something. I wonder if spiders store nervous systems like octopi. There used to be this like strange hypothesis, like the morphic. Wait, the morphic field theory, the morphogenic field theory, and this is a fringe theory. And it says that every animal has this kind of almost spiritual energy body that constrains and determines their bodily form and shape, and it's determined by some energy or some sort of like radiation, or I really don't know. And there's a lot of ink spilled over the subject. Now, we don't have definitive conclusive evidence suggesting this, the morphic field theory. But it just also, when you read it, it feels very intuitive and reasonable. And you kind of say, why not? But we don't know. Louis J says, do you know Terence McKenna? He was good buddies with the Morphic Fields guide. I need to read up on I mean, there are a couple of books written about this. Rupert Sheldrake is the, I think, main proponent. And he's like a Cambridge biologist, and he studied in Trinity College in Cambridge. Let me actually share this with you. Wait. So this is the guy who advances the morphic resonance theory. And he's got a lot of books. I mean, some of them are attacks on science itself, such as this one, The Science Delusion, which is a pun on Richard Dawkins' God Delusion. But there are other books about the morphic resonance theory itself, and I would really like to get and read some of these. The sense of being stared at, presence of the past, dogs that know when their owners are coming home, and other unexplained powers of animals. I have seen something like this, by the way. My father had a surgery, and before the surgery happened, our family cat was always like nuzzling that point of that point where he had the surgery. Oh, the screen went back. Well, can you see the screen? Can you hear me? Okay, you can see the stream and hear me. Okay, long story short, I personally would want to read some of the books by this guy, Rupert Sheldrake. I think it is entirely possible that life itself may have some qualities which our understanding of science cannot yet detect. I personally think, I know that there's something distinct in living matter that just non-living matter just can't replicate. But I don't know if it really means morphic fields or if it means angels are real or whatever. But Yes, science can't detect their AT fields, says Louis J., referring to Neon Genesis Evangelion. MT says, I'm a fan of creepy crawlies too. And there's somebody named Terence McKenna. Let's look him up. Uh-huh. He was an ethnobotanist. Okay. He advocated responsible use of psychedelics. Intellectual voice of the rave culture. Sounds like an interesting guy. I don't know. I'm on the fence about psychedelics, though. But thanks for teaching me about a cool, new, interesting guy. Jerry Caleb says, I'm somewhat of a spooky woo-woo guy myself, but I don't like it when people try to discredit the endeavor of science and try to make it, yeah, look, that's like having a chip on your shoulder. It is certain that, okay, let's do a fucking destiny drawing right now, okay, again. Imagine this is our current understanding of science, okay? It's clear to see there are things outside of it that it hasn't assimilated yet. Okay? But one day, using its methods, science can learn these. There might also be things out there because science, its main strength and weakness is reproducibility. Like if you prove something scientifically, chances are you can test it and it will happen again. Like water will always boil at 100 degrees at sea level. But there could be one-off things, maybe, and they could be happening inside the boundaries of science too. Maybe these are somehow linked, who knows? But because they happen once, or they happen without causality, science can never truly detect these things. And I think it's good to keep an eye out for those sorts of experiences, but also always be careful because there's always going to be people exploiting that intellectual or semantic vacuum there. I think they can help people, but they can also make someone into what if autists. Yes, you need a foundation, says Emmanuel, referring to psychedelics. Yes, don't drink kratom. And I think what if autists' biggest sin was he was taking swings of kratom from a disgusting cup, from a disgusting mug. Sorry, and that was just ridiculous. 1815 says, when do you believe that living matter develops in a person? I think all life forms have been this tree of existence that has been growing and developing for billions of years. Well, maybe not billions, but hundreds of millions of years. You were, or I also was, a part of my mother's and father's bodies, but now I'm on my own. If I had kids, they would be another segment in the branch of the tree of life. So it's always on, always growing. So that is that. Could a machine have a soul, says the Dark Masters? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's like making a calculator in making a calculator in Minecraft, but you're outside of that system. Machines operate on pure logic. But I think the prime operating principle of life is something more than just pure logic. I don't know. Baby Botfly, I've never seen you on this channel before. Cool name. Says, I have had kratom. Genuinely tastes like shit. I don't know how we could gulp it down just like that. I abandoned it after I found it could give you jaundice. I think our good friend What If Altist had more than just kratom when he was recording that bender. And just for the replay gang, um, if you don't know who What If Altist or who What If Altist is, or my interest in his antics, you have to watch this video, which you can find in this channel, Psychoanalyzing What If Altist. So this is a great video, and it's actually one of my most popular videos on this channel, so go watch it. Louis J says, poor Rudyard. He actually, look, I made a lot of fun with him, fun of him too, but he was all high and mighty predicting a US civil war. And bizarrely, something like that, I don't think it's going to come down to a civil war, but it might come down to a sort of Brazil type of assassinations versus assassinations, or mass shooter versus mass shooter. And he just called it. I don't know. I heard What If Altists debated Wausch once, says Jerry Caleb. I've listened to that debate. Wausch was very unfair to him. And genuinely, like, he was coming from like a right-wing bro angle, but he wanted to speak about history and books, and Wausch just like was going for blood, was in the internet blood sports mode. This is one of the reasons I don't really like people like Wausch or Destiny, because they just want to see like the red mist. They want to just tear somebody apart on stream, and they want to feel good about it. And that's just like, that's boring, for one thing. I think Wausch kind of, I've been listening to some of his streams. He had this not a meltdown, but like a fall from grace moment where turned out he was actually hoarding some very unsavory cartoons on his computer. But to his credit, this Wausch character actually cleaned up his game. He stayed out of the whole Hassan versus Destiny versus Ethan Klein, Palestine, Loner Box Bad Empanada shitstorm, and he kind of did his own thing, and he changed his game too. He was no longer the weird anime extreme leftist freakazoid. He I think he took like posture lessons or something. So he stood up very. Oh, there's some sort of alarm in the background. Well, it's just down on the street. I hope it's not a fire alarm. No, it's over. Okay, not my problem. Anyway, so Walsh was taking like posture lessons or something. So he appears very like ramrod straight, and he's like well dressed, and his neck is standing up, and he's like well groomed. And like the last time I checked, he was like a kind of male wait. God damn it. What was the name of that character? He was like a male Mary Poppins character, giving out life advice in a sort of strangely matronly way, engaging with his like extreme leftist audience, and like telling them things like you need to go out, you need to exercise. So he was doing this sort of like nice shtick, okay? And he stayed out of the slop polytainment debate circuit, and I think he cleaned up his act. I don't know. Wow, she's like a roach, he never dies, says the Dark Master. Well, none of these people ever die until they die. But I mean, they can like I at least respect them when they learn from their mistakes and never repeat them. I think the only irredeemable figure is Destiny, like really truly satanic figure. Ingram says, "Do I get XP for the message? What is this XP shit? I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about. Sorry." Baby Boatfly says, what is your what are your thoughts on the Latine art style? Let's look that up. The Latine culture from the Iron Age of Europe is a Celtic art style. So stuff like this. Lots of hearts coming. So this is the Celtic Latine art style with like lots of rounded, semi two-dimensional Celtic style embellishments and stylization. It's really beautiful, but I think it's suggestive. I don't know, by the way, but I think it belongs to like a slightly very extremely violent honor culture. So it's beautiful. Like this was a time when they really didn't have like this culture didn't have writing, so we don't know what they were up to. So yeah, that I mean, I'm always mystified by these like visual cultures that have nothing else left behind. Then there could be a million ways what So were these like pictures of gods or demons, or were they just things which they think looked cool? Maybe they just wanted to have like more lions on it or something, you know? Louis J says, I love traditional art because anatomy level looks real, but doesn't look like any style we could come up with either. Well, I think in the present day, if you want photographic accuracy, you take a photograph. And art once more has the task of conveying emotion and a sense of mystery. So after the invention of the camera, it's always a better choice to do art like this. Baby Boatfly says this is actually a misconception about the Celts. The Gauls used the Greek alphabet. Well, sorry, look, shows you how little I know. I have a only surface level knowledge about these things. Apparently, they had a lot of unimportant stuff written down, like land claims and trade records. So yeah, shows you how little I know. Flow Zone says very early Roman art is also surprisingly Celtic. Well, Etruscan art, no? I got a little book about them somewhere. Wait. I have this slim volume, very very slim, from London in the 19 from London, published in 1962. It's called Etruscan Art, and it's really nice, like a very concise small book, but it shows all these works of Etruscan arts, which is very strange. They got this like big bull with a human head and a huge long blue penis running in a field of pomegranates. The Etruscans also had a very counterintuitive understanding of color that just works beautifully. And these people were among the ancestors of the Romans. They have this like greenish woman riding a horse with trees and the sunrise, maybe. Very mystifying stuff. And like this looks almost Greek, but it shows Etruscan men abducting a woman, maybe. Dark Master says, what happened to the Etruscans? Did the Romans get rid of them? I think they turned into the Romans, to be honest, or like one of the constituent peoples of the Roman Republic. Caden Slinker says hello. Almost looks Minoan, this art. And this looks like something out of Picasso. It's a boy playing the flutes, but look at his hands. They're so expressive and like such a subtle distortion of the human body. But it the hands are bigger than obviously real human hands are. But it also conveys motion, and it's got so much character. Very vibrant. Also the details of the cloak and everything, really beautiful stuff. Well, the Etruscans also have some art that are not in this book, but they're just like literally lots of pictures of people getting it on. This is one of the strangest. Just birds and, well, circles in the sky or garlands, who knows? And they're going to go to the bonus stage in Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't think the stream will continue. Good night, everyone, says Ingram. Sky Amoebas. Flowzone says, look up the Capestrano warrior. Okay, let's look it up. Oh, this is the Picheni culture. Yes, yes, it's the guy with the Mexican style hat. Wait, I'm digging up a picture. Looks like, yeah, there's this like raw lack of expertise about the human body, which ends up conveying more about the sensibility of the thing than an accurate statue would. Screen lag again, says MTV. MT. One Piece has similar proportions, says Aporivashinev. A lot of people that invaders and empires supposedly genocided just became their wives and in-laws. Yeah, a lot of that happens in history too. Like, total subjugation is very rare. I think the most prominent examples are in the, well, in the US Manifest Destiny, and then in also in Australia. Louis J says this looks like Gennady Tartakovsky style. Okay. So unlike the Roman art that would follow it. I think the Romans, when they matured as a civilization, borrowed heavily from classical Greece. Yeah, so that's that. An hour and a half in. I'm gonna check some messages and yeah. B says, is the face eroded like that or is it just carved that way? It seems to me the most intimidating aspect to me. I think the statue was painted in real life and the eyes and the mouth look very like effaced and subtle because they were actually highlighted with like lines and paint in real life. Unknown says, I'm back. I beat the bug. Hello, unknown. Mhm. Oh, yeah, because unknown was attacked by a large insect. Yeah. And I hope you didn't kill it. I enjoy it when bugs sneak in. I wish we had some around here. Except for mosquitoes. Now, those are bad. Anyways. Yeah, this really was a Monday salad of a stream. Like, we talked a bit about everything. Botfly says the art you showed as an example of the Latena art culture was a section of the Gundestrup cauldron, an amazing artifact that shows many gods and deities. Okay, yeah, I know the Gundestrup cauldron. Wait, not as much as probably you, but yeah, it's just like really ornate relic with lots and lots of figures and stuff going on, huh? There it is. Neonidi says, what are we talking about? I just joined in. I have no idea what's going on. We're talking about, well, art in world cultures, and we're looking at this thing called the Gundestrup cauldron. Louis J says, we talked about his art projects, geopolitics, traditional art, and a hint of drama YouTubers. Yes. Yeah, this there's a lot of strange things. Like, for example, here the figures are playing the, I think, carings, which was this like scary horn that sounds like a heavy metal thing. Here there's a big king or a god, who knows, and different horsemen with different symbols. Maybe they're chiefs or chieftains, or yeah, but there's obviously a significance to this. But yeah. Flowzone says, have you made art with metals like copper or bronze? No, I'd need a foundry. There's also apparently a ram-headed snake flying in the sky. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, there's this thing. Yeah, this is just a mystifying riddle. And also, if you are Celtic, I think it would hit in a different way. Like, you would have lots more feelings, maybe a sense of belonging. Elio says, where do you get your ideas from? Just life, really. I have a pretty good knowledge of natural history, and I think that's a good way to start. I also read a lot of books, cover to cover, and I always read the books that are not in my immediate area of interest, so always expand my horizons. But yeah, that's the Gundestrup cauldron. Ülkü Tunca Küçüktaş, what preparation, if any, have you done for the rapture? This user has a Turkish name. I'm assuming this is a question asked in irony. But yeah, the rapture is the belief that judgment day will come and God will choose 144,000 people, righteous people, to join him in heaven, and the others will just get fucked, I guess. I don't know. And in order to prepare, well, I think if you take that at face value, I would have a greater chance of surviving the rapture on account of my early life and ultimate origins. But yeah, if you want, there's a movie called The Rapture. It's in 1991. It stars David Duchovny, among others. This is one of the strangest films I've ever seen. This is how its poster is like. So in it, David Duchovny, that's Mulder from the X-Files, and this woman, they're like a bunch of like wife swapping, threesome having, destiny type hedonists. But then the woman has an awakening, and so does the man. They turn to God, they become religious, and they save their lives. And then one day in the guy's office, there's an office shooting. So the husband dies, and the woman goes crazy with their daughter and goes to live in a commune and goes crazy thinking the rapture will happen. But actually, the rapture does happen in the movie. And it's got incredible scenes like this. She actually like kills her daughter, and you see it in the movie, which is very rare in the world of movies. I mean, they put her to jail for killing her daughter, but actually the rapture does happen. Calliope Crane says, "Oh, memo." Jerry Caleb says, "In America, a lot of people eagerly wait for the rapture, either to go to heaven." Yeah, it's horrible. It's one of the darkest things about the United States. Some of these people are in positions of powers, and they legitimately want Armageddon to happen in the Middle East. So yeah, this movie, like at one point, the woman goes crazy and has a crazy tattoo, I think. Wait, I'm gonna find like there was a really scary scene in this film. I'm trying to find a screenshot. I mean, it's got bizarre erotic scenes in it too, if you're into that sort of thing. I mean, this was one of the most difficult scenes where the woman takes the life of her child because God told her to do so. This is like it's not a shocking movie either. It's just like a psychological thriller. And it's also one of the rare movies with which give like a strange feminine perspective of the world, which I think is interesting. Was there like a demon or a horseman? I'm trying to look that up. Wait. Mm-mm. Sorry, just bear with me, okay? But yeah, this is a great film. Go watch it. I mean, like, it's one of these movies you have to watch, okay? Okay, I'm just gonna grab some water. I'll be right back. I'm a bit tired from all the speaking, but I'm also having a good time. So, like, mention all your comments and everything, and yeah. Oh. Oh. Blah! Okay, I'm back. Who is your favorite Abrahamic prophet, says Louis J? Maybe the last one. Do you ever sculpt with clay, says Nicholas Fortney? I used to, not anymore. The movie Rapture it really gives religious psychosis vibes, says Kuro Minami. Yes, it's true. Have you lately discussed the 1984 scenario, says Neonili? I don't know what this is. Are you talking about 1984 itself, the universe in the book, or no? Louis J says, what is your opinion of Abrahamic faiths? Is there anything you like about them? I mean, there are far more qualified people than me talking about these things online. One of them is the Esoterica channel. That's, well, Esoterica with a C. Go look that up. It's run by Dr. Justin Sledge, and it's just a really nice explanation of how the first Abrahamic faiths came to be. It's a strange collusion between faith, history, and law. There are a lot of religions that do not attempt to impose law on people directly. But in Abrahamic religions, you see a culminating effect of that. Like Judaism has inside it stipulations on how to live. And in Islam, this even gets applied to state law or even inheritance or tax. And I think one of the most salient characteristics of Abrahamic religion is how it slowly creeps up on worldly power and how it covets worldly power. And I think in that respect, it's actually unique to this part of the world. What was that sound? Says unknown. My blah sound. it's like a it's like a vomit sound, but also cute. He was raptured. Yeah, that's the sound I'm gonna make when the rapture comes for me. About 1984, Neo-Nili says freedom of speech is getting similar to 1984, especially some things happening in Western countries now. Look, everything you see in Western countries, everything, what they're doing after Charlie Kirk, the way they are taking little steps over people's liberties, it's only one thing. It's war footing. This conviction keeps growing inside me that they're kind of gearing up for a big war, because I think it ultimately stems from economy and technology, and the economies are like choked. Every large world economy is like silently in crisis now, and there's nothing like a good global war to clean the tables and get the machine unclogged, so to speak. Another factor is technology. And in a lot of Western countries, you got a lot of men who are just redundant, just walking around, not doing anything. And societies actually need to get rid of these people. And what better way to do that than to have a great big war? So be careful, really. Like you see, like every day, some new development. Like just today, I think the UK, Australia, Canada, they recognized Palestine as a state. Like this is not independent from all the other things. Like you look back and read these in history books in the future, then you say, okay, of course they're related. But when you're in the middle of it, no, you can't see it. I think the big elephant in the room is America's military domination around the globe. And I think they're going to either make a choice. They're either going to like reassert themselves over the world, which will mean two hot wars, one with China, one with Russia, or they're going to go for retrenchment, which is like rolling everything back and galvanizing the homeland again, which I think is why all this, like, which is why they responded to the shooting of Charlie Kirk like they did. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. We're gonna scrape the well. We're gonna reset the scoreboard. We're gonna clean everything up. Revitalization, galvanization. They're gonna bring back all the heavy industries, and maybe they'll attempt to take the world again, or maybe they'll just go down without a fight. It will be interesting to watch. In places like Turkey, it's going to be interesting to see which side the country is going to align. I don't think Turkey is going to align with Russia or China, but maybe the Turks will attempt to strike their own destiny again, and that can end up poorly, as or it could end up with a good ending. We never know. Kuro Minami says, seems like the world will be like Fallout in the future. No, I strongly disagree. Even if they use nuclear weapons in this world war, it won't be like Terminator or Fallout. It will just mean two generations not being able to live as well as their parents did. And then after that, it will be like a boom, like the 1950s again. Because whatever this war is, it will be fought and done with. And then there'll be a rejuvenation. Neo Neely says China really isn't described as the land of the free, but I think I think nobody gives a flying fuck about freedom anymore. But yeah, I would rather live under American domination than Chinese domination. But guess what? As a citizen of the Republic of Turkey, I would rather live under Turkish domination than either. Neonili says, I'm living in a country where the economy is kind of in its good age. Are you from Poland then? We're spending a hell of a lot money on military. However, the quality of life didn't change. Yeah, I guess you're from Poland then. Jerry Caleb says, what the fuck does Russia think they are doing over there? They're also retrenching. They're taking back their empire. I mean, to them, Ukraine was part of their country until very recently. So that's what they're doing. Strange to see America is trying to do the same, but it's a more social retrenchment. 815 says, do you think misogyny is more prevalent in American society than Turkey? It's a different quality of misogyny. Neonili Neonili's brother should get out of the bathroom. Are you jerking off in there? Maybe quiet strokes. Get the fuck out. Your sister wants to go in, pee. Yeah, Neonili's brother. You're a character in the Kozemen cinematic universe now. I assumed you were a she. I don't know. Neonili sounded like a feminine nickname. I've been wrong before. Emmanuel says, do you think there's much hope for trans rights in the USA and the UK in the next 5 years? They had this like Brianna Gay murder, which was, I mean, she was a really normal. Uh, Look there, she's eating a Mars bar just like I was eating. I mean, so this was not like. Wait. Then there was this character in the United States, which became like a face, kind of like a boogeyman face. So yeah, I mean, there's this way to be trans, and then this way to be trans. And I personally always, I really don't care what people do with themselves. When I interact with LGBT friends or trans friends, I never once talk about their transition or how they feel. It's up to them. I don't give a fuck. I think in every society, from like time immemorial, in every society, there have always been, and they have mostly been men manifesting as women, but were actually a third sex unto themselves. And that's, I mean, societies have a way of dealing with them. These are almost always like eccentric or marginalized people. Sometimes they are safer in traditional societies. And yeah, this like I don't know, like I don't have any like instructive statements to make. I mean, I feel bad when I read news like this, where it was obviously a case of like prejudiced murder. But then again, I don't think this is an honest customer. And I don't think this, like, maybe it's one of a million, but there's like a whiff of indoctrination about this. And some trans people go that way because they were abused as children. And there's no two ways around it, As far as trans rights in the US and the UK, I think they're going to roll back on the hormone treatments and like the legal definition of what it means to be trans. I think it's going to be rolled back to like a sort of legal gray area, which is like don't ask, don't tell, or I think the voices are not going to be amplified anymore. But it also, I think, won't come down to like rounding trans people up in vans or whatever. Neonili says discriminating against minorities was one of the reasons why World War II happened. I think it was one of the justifications of the war, but I think the causes of the war were like this upcoming big global crisis. New technologies appear, which make old economies and the people, the millions of people serving those economies, obsolete. So you need to trim off the fat, you need to burn off the slags. Same thing here with AI and digital communication technologies around the corner. I mean, you look at the Nepal riots and how that was really satisfying to watch. They like stormed the parliament, the young people, then they just did a snap election on Discord. They choose parliament members over Discord. And there's no reason why government shouldn't be run as efficiently and as fast as that. It's just tradition holding you back. All civil right requires child indoctrination, says Jerry Caleb. Status quo is that also child indoctrination. Children aren't feral, they have to be taught something. True, I would rather have that indoctrination within the confines of family or community and not by state or not by private enterprise or whatever. Good night, says Neonili. Good evening or good morning, everyone, and thank you, Kozaman says something. I don't know, guys. Like, to a leftist, I will sit on the right. To a right winger, I will sit on the left. I've always had this middle ground in terms of politics. Kuro Minami says, do you think Turkey will be ruled by Sharia law in the future and it will lose its secularism? No fucking way. No fucking way. It's a bugbear. When I was growing up, let me show you this. In 2004, there was a proposed law to criminalize criminalize extramarital affairs, and the prime minister at the time called it the infidelity law. But goddamn, I mean, like 20 years ago, the area of mobility for secular people was literally like three neighborhoods in Istanbul, two neighborhoods in Ankara, one neighborhood in Izmir. Rest of the country was Muslim conservative. Now it's far, far bigger. There are far more people. There is zero chance of Turkey ever becoming a Sharia country. There never was, actually. You may see some more people talking as if they're religious or Sharia compliant, whatever. No, everybody wants, it's a generation, everybody wants a urban middle class life. And if they're not like that, usually their sons and daughters end up being like that. I got many young followers in Turkey. I keep hearing about this a lot. But I mean, you never had it so good, let me tell you that much. YouTube Joseph W drops a bomb saying, why aren't there more than one phylum of vertebrates? Could they evolve? Are there any warm-blooded invertebrates? I think some spiders can warm themselves by twitching their body muscles, so that counts. And I think you could count cartilaginous fish as maybe a vertebrate subphylum. So yeah. Guys, it's almost 1 a.m. I've been talking for two hours. I've had a great time. Any last questions before we say goodnight? What's the difference between Turkish misogyny and American misogyny? It says 8:15. I think American misogyny is a lot more sexual. Like it's all about, like, excuse my French, but like, are you a fuckable object as a woman? And whereas Turkish misogyny is more about silent walls that you as a woman you're not meant to go there, not meant to do this. But then again, in Turkey there's like a great and unspoken and terrible essay culture too. But in America it's way more out in the open. I mean, it's like American society is far more sexualized compared to every other country, even in the West. Baby Botfly says, do you think there's a future to feminism in Turkey? It depends. I think the kind of imported third wave feminist culture from, well, I would say the Boğaziçi University kind of feminism, it never had fertile ground in Turkey. And Boğaziçi University is like a top performing liberal, if you can believe that, liberal college in Turkey, whatever. That sort of like internet inspired blue hair feminism, it will never resonate with anybody in Turkey. Not even secular people will buy that. But then again, I think women women are far more canny in Turkey about protecting their rights, but they will never do it in a sort of like booksy or Western coded way. But they will fight tooth and nail for it. And when they fight, they're a scary force. Do you agree with the spelling change Türkiye? Maybe that's how it was always spelled, but I always knew it as Turkey. Yeah, it's an inferiority complex thing. I always call it Turkey. In Turkey, the name for the country of Egypt, Mısır, means corn, but we don't go around calling them Al Misr. So I think it's gonna revert back to Turkey when the government changes. Also, it's like grammatically weird too. Like you see Türkiye, but then who are the Turkish people? They're the Türkiyenese, like Guyanese, or I don't know. Flow Zone says, "How do you call the bird?" We call the bird Billa. And get fucking raptured. Oh, you mean the bird? Hindi we call it. The bird that is Turkey. We call it Hindi, but Hindi also means India, the country. So like it's a pecking order. Pardon the pun. Just getting. Do you have this too? When it's after midnight, your body just starts secreting essential oils. Just essential oils from your forehead, your eyes, the side of your nose. It's not, it's just essential pore oil. Keeps your body, keeps your skin healthy, I guess, but it's annoying. And the insides of your ears, too. Mm-hmm. Oh. Bottle that shit up for us? No. I'm a very clean guy. I mean, just only a few yellow stains here. My body, my skin fat, my skin oil is clear. I don't have body odor. I'm a clean guy. Lamau at the raptured bird call says empty. Okay. Eleanor Davis says mast cells are more active during the evening. I didn't know that. Also, I think I don't eat chips or like French fries or shit. I think that helps. Like if I have like in the rare nights where I have a burger and I go to sleep, I wake up total blah, like totally greasy shit. But not now. Good Lord, you're teaching newbies hygiene. Of course, you gotta do that. Like, always have about every room in the house must have a pack of wet wipes because you never know when you might need to wipe yourself or you might need to like wipe some dust or something. So yeah, you never had chips or fries, says Dark Master. No, come on, I had McDonald's only a week ago or something. But like when I have them, my sebaceous fat is filthier. 815 overshares saying I have wet wipes in my car because I piss myself. Okay, okay. Let's not turn this into bodily fluctuation hours. It's 1 a.m. in the night for oh. Kuro Minami says, I literally clean the whole house with wet wipes. Yeah, these days they have these like extra large ones, which are like super convenient for cleaning everywhere. Wet wipes are fucking handy. I think this is a fact the whole world can agree on it. Like an Israeli and an Iranian can shake hands saying wet wipes are good. Yes. Dark Master says, any thoughts on Eurupterids and their speculative evolution potential? Just go to. I have a huge video. I have a huge video series, okay? It's called the Kosemen Giga Arachnid Trilogy on YouTube. It's these videos. And I talk for literally hours about Erupterida, among other groups. So go watch that. They're really beautiful. Do you wipe after you go to the bathroom with wet wipes or do you use toilet paper? So uncivilized because in Turkey we have the best invention of the world, which is the backwash pipe. That is to say, toilets here. Just trying to find a good image. Toilets here have this little water jet. Okay. Like so. Can you see it? It's not a bidet, it's a tahret. It's like a bidet, but different. So you turn this little tap here, and this delivers a intense jet of water up your bum. And yeah, you can just wash everything off. Just wash it off. I literally, when I live outside of Turkey, this is the one of the things I miss the most. My hand goes back there. Sometimes it's a bit too intense as cauliflower. Okay. I mean, yeah, don't end up giving yourself an enema. Sometimes it's too intense. Baby Botfly says, can we get snuggly bedtime thoughts on violence? Are you referring to violence as in political violence or assassination of Charlie Kirk kind of stuff? Eleanor Davis says, I wonder whether UTIs are more common with water than with toilet paper. I don't know. I'm not the person to ask. Okay, let's can the toilet talk, okay? $8.15 says water. MT says toilet paper. Yeah, this is just regression hours now. Okay, let me. Let me switch to some nice erupterid fossils, okay? You see in the background. Happy to find the stream still going while I couldn't join, says Lexus Galavan. It seems wrong to show water up. Okay, look, it's an acquired taste. I don't want to have this debate. It's just like you. I grew up in it. It's better. Somebody asked about violence. My thoughts on violence. Okay, let's go back to that. Let's talk about that and maybe erupterids. Snugly bedtime thought. Like, what do you want to know about my thoughts with violence? Like, do you want to know if I think it's right or whatever? Disney Atlantis influence in these fossils. Violent erupted, says Eleanor Davies. I like this comment. It's pinned now. Those will also go well with butter and wine, says MT. Yeah, this one guy dropped a bomb, then left. Snugly bedtime thoughts about violence, what pushes people. My personal opinion, if you're gonna be violent, you better be sure you have an end goal or that you'll be able to see it through. I think violence is unfortunately always going to be an unspoken dynamic in human relationships. Even if you're not like punching people in the face, like just shouting at someone can be a form of psychological violence, just coercive stuff. And I think it takes decades to know how to use that properly. So I don't know. I mean, there's something to be said about celebrating violence too, but I think a lot of people are like too happy to celebrate when someone they don't like dies. But I really don't get it. Like, even if you have such ideas, you gotta learn how to be quiet because the other side can be violent on you too. Also, it's like, especially when it comes to like killing or assassinations or like even just like beating people up properly, it's like an art form, and like I can't do it. But if a person can learn the art of enacting violence lethally or non lethally, then it becomes a lifelong skill. And then that guy's prospects for unemployment become a concern for everybody involved. Because, okay, like this is a nice thought experiment. Every country, in every country right now, there are these like violent gangs of men. They're really a real menace in society, some places. In Turkey, you got the guys with the bowl cut hairs, and one of them, like some of them, just stabbed this 14-year-old boy, which turned into a national outcry. Well, in the United States, there was this horrible murder of this Ukrainian woman on the subway train. So imagine something snaps. This is a fictional scenario, and you start going El Salvador on these guys. You round them all up without due process and put them in camps, and and then you need them gone. They're unrehabitable, they can't be rehabilitated. They can't be made into productive members of society. So you find a way to kill them all. Who's gonna do the killing? Even if you like shoot them, it's an art to shoot people. Like, I'm not saying this hyperbolically, but like, it's not like a video game. You don't like shoot somebody and they go and explode. If you shoot someone the wrong way, they can take you down before going, even if you kill them. So you have to train these like gangs of people working for you or for the state who will do the killing, and they will experience PTSD doing essentially mass murders. And then after the war is over, the streets are safer, but then these people are not going to like slowly retire or quietly go back home and paint. You're going to need to keep them employed. So what are they going to do? And that's always like a big problem with like, I think the verb is to turn janissary. Like, you can find the very efficient, quick term solution with extreme violence, but then you will need to raise people to enact that extreme violence, and after the job is done, the tools are not going to put themselves away. So that's a big conundrum. Jerry Caleb says, I was genuinely displeased when Charlie Kirk was killed, but I do understand people's reluctance to go with. Yeah, same here. I wouldn't attend a vigil, but I wouldn't vandalize a memorial too. It would be just, sometimes like Americans especially find this difficult to grasp, but sometimes you can just shut the fuck up. Not you, but like Americans. Sometimes you can just shut the fuck up. The world doesn't have a microphone held up to your mouth, believe it or not. You can just shut the fuck up, let the thing pass, let the thing de escalate, and carry on with your life. Kuro Minami says they are so dramatic over. Well, we in Turkey are 50 years ahead of them. In the future, every part of the world will be like Turkey. Lexus Galavan says emotionally unintelligent, unstable people. Yeah. The Eurypterids are patiently watching us discuss our social issues from across time. I've spoken for hours and hours about Eurypterids on the Arachnid Mega Special, so go watch that in this channel. Would all the world being similar to Turkey be bad, though? Well, it will be good and bad. It will be maybe more humane, but it will also be very graceless and also slightly brutal in its own way. You would have better food if you. I think this term gets discussed a lot, huh? Like the Brazilification of the US or the Turkeyification of Europe or whatever. Erupterids versus Anomalocalis is a great matchup. I don't think those animals ever lived together at the same time. Here's a great thing about Turkey, and I want to ask how many people can do this actually. The other morning, I ran out of milk. Okay? I go out, go to the shop, got milk, came back. You want to know how long it took me? 1 minute. I fucking kid you not. 1 minute. Left my apartment, went down to the street. Literally, I don't know, 90 feet from where I live, there's a supermarket. Got the milk, came back. Who among you can do this? Can you, in an emergency, get groceries in under a minute by walking where you live? Please answer. Can you? Is it raw milk in glass? No, it's actual like a carton of milk. Or it could be, I don't know, I don't know, 1 month ago, I craved some sausages. In 1 minute, with my fucking flip flops, I went and got some sausages. Flow Zone is one of the chosen ones. Yes, I live next to a supermarket. Jerry Caleb lives near a Hispanic carnicera. Eleanor Davis has to take 15 minutes. That's bad. Doesn't it depend on what place in Turkey you are, says Dark Master? Most places in Turkey you can do this though. Most places. Even if you're like not great off, even if you're in a horrible neighborhood, you can do this. Whereas in the States, I think even if you're in a great neighborhood, you have to drive 19 minutes in a fucking car. Isn't car dependency a mostly American problem, says Flow Zone? Yeah. Fossilized Fool says, not me. I live near I'm a car dependent American. Nearest grocery store is more than 5 minutes away. Ooh. It's also a Canadian and Mexican issue too, to be frank, says Dark Master. True. Eleanor Davis says, is this because big supermarket shops replaced all the little ones? So there's less shops. No, actually, there are now many little supermarkets. Like, let's do a map drop. It's my favorite activity. Let's go to a random Turkish city. Let's go to Burdur. Okay. There are surprisingly few food deserts in Turkey. I'm just going to drop a random guy. This is a random Turkish city. Oh, sorry. Where were we? Huh. Same place. We're on the street, okay? This is like a small, quiet, like slightly conservative, but clean city. Imagine you live in the pink Bayraktar house, okay? Imagine this is your apartment. You want to get some rice or, I don't know, meat or milk. Just go down. You see here, there's a shop already. You go to the shock store. You go get your groceries. You go get your Carman chocolate wafers. You get win-win-win. They have vegetables inside. Then you go back home. Simple as that. Flow Zone says, most European cities have supermarkets or small stores everywhere. The villages, the suburbs, and the random villages, though, especially where old people live, there's usually nothing to buy. Shock supermarkets apparently also exist in Germany. Great. Say, this is Burdur. Look, it's not like the fanciest place to live, but it's clean. It's walkable. Maybe there are not many work opportunities, but there are no food deserts. It's It's fresh. Let's try a smaller city. I mean, I don't know. Sparta. Let's look at this town, Bujak. I'm just dropping a man here. Okay, boom. Look, this is more favela type and a bit more Middle Eastern coded, but still there's a cafe here. And you can see there's people having like meeting their friends and stuff. Somebody was talking about Sharia law. Like 20 years ago, I don't think you could find like a cafe here or people with like secular modes of dress, but now you have them. See, there's a couple maybe on a date. There's another few people. There's a pide shop. Well, this is like a busy town center, but still. Like Turkish people like to poke fun at these places, saying like, they're like redneck towns in a way, but no, actually, they're like the alternative is not being like Norway. The alternative is being a failed state, and for this reason, I think Turkey will be very robust going forward. Baby Botfly says, your cars are so tiny and cute. Thank you. Adorable too, says Calliope Crane. Little tic-tac cars, lol. Yeah. It's better than Jackson and Chicago. That's nice. Yeah. I'll take you to like a rough neighborhood, okay? Let's go to Bağcılar, where crime is a big deal, and it's a sort of like Blade Runner type grid of streets. Not really the best place in Istanbul. Still, let's drop a man. So at night, these streets crawl with drug dealers, and people knife each other in this part of town. But still, you see, here there's a place you can have soup in, something called the Avshor soup, or, well, this abomination, whatever it is. Like, you can talk about the quality of the services you're getting. And as I told, it's like a very artless and rough kind of thing. But still, there are no food deserts. Ülkü says, the cars are small in size but heavy on price. Yes, there's a horrible tax on them. And an average person can get a car easier in the US. But then you would also be dependent on that car. So it's a double-edged sword. Let's do the same. Like, we're looking for places to eat and groceries, okay? Let's go to, I don't know, Arcata, one of the nice towns I've been in. Or let's go to this Ephrata. I've also been here. This is in the United States, near New Jersey. I think it's in just the edges of Pennsylvania. Boom! Houses are far more beautiful. Landscape is immaculate. Cars are nicer too. But how far do I have to go before I find a place to eat? Well, maybe this church can, I don't know, give me cookies. But yeah, imagine like living in one of these houses, and these are nice houses. It takes me way longer to go get groceries. Still going. There's a parking lot. Maybe there's a Walmart here. No, like a motel. Phew. So I'm not dunking on America necessarily. It's just a different thing. Let's look at Ephrata. They're all outside. You see the center, you only have Casa Huerta, which I think is a... Yeah, it's like either a restaurant or it's not something. So you have to drive outside of town and all the food marts are there. This is a hellscape. Okay. So you see the center is a desert and all the groceries are outside. And you have to get on the interstate to eat, basically. Like, what if you're like having a lazy morning, or I don't know. Whereas, let's go back to Bucak or wherever, Burdur. Let's look at supermarkets here. Boom, you see, there's far more, and they're all in the middle of town. Now, this is like, imagine they did the same thing in America. America would be a world power. It would be great. It would be great. Like they can do it. They don't do it. I don't know why. Kizo says, with our cities looking like this, it's surprising how the USA doesn't have a mental health crisis. Oh, wait. Flowzone says, they had this before the 1950s. Yeah. Then they like ruined themselves because cars must go. Oh, there's a nice conversation. Kurominami says, I probably die from starvation in the US because I'm scared of driving. Car-centric infrastructure was a choice made by car companies. True. Even with car-centric, like, why aren't the supermarkets in the middle of the town? How about checking around overpasses on the D60? Yeah, I'll show you the D60. It's like a... Yeah, it's a pretty dismal highway. But let's look at these streets. I mean, you see, this is an impoverished city. This is a different city from where I showed you. But even here, let's go. Let's go. You see, blah, there's a shock again. Easy. Easy. Okay, so this, you might be living in an apartment like this, but down from you, there's a butcher's shop, there's a patisserie. Once again, the quality is different, okay, and it's obviously a lot worse compared to the US. If you go to a bakery in the US, chances are you're going to have better merchandise. But it's... I'm not comparing two countries, but I'm sure our civilizations can both learn from each other. How else can mountains and deserts be visited without cars? You can have a car. A lot of people in Turkey do have cars. Everybody, almost everybody in a town like this has a car, or you got public transport, which these like private tiny buses. You give them like 50 cents and they take you anywhere. Thoughts on the walkability of Forestville in California, says Baby Boatfly, before retracting the message. This is why freezers are so useful, says Eleanor. Yes. In small towns, they are in the middle of town, says Jerry Caleb, but then you have more people who hang out in country. So that's still a way off for them. I think talking about America. Okay, thoughts on Guerneville, California. Let's look there. You see they did the washing and hung it up. Let's look. Let's go. Okay. Guerneville, California. Ready? 2, 3, 1. Blah! Oh, it's near the 101 highway? No. Yes. I drove all the way from Seattle to San Francisco once in a different world. Okay, so Guerneville, let's go. Let's go, bitch. Let's actually filter for supermarkets now. Boom. Looks like this is the center of town. Okay. That's a nice house. That's a nice house. Okay. Okay, we're looking for food. Are you ready? Okay. Maybe at this gas station looking place. I don't know. Church Street. Customer Center. What goods or services are being rendered in this center? It's a Masonic lodge. Wow, okay. The G symbol. I don't think this is a Masonic lodge anymore. This is bizarre, like middle of nowhere. There's a Masonic lodge and a Pacific. Ah, okay. It's a gas and electric company. Of course, if you have to pay, you're welcome. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, blah. Still looking for food. Starving. Bank of Guerneville. So far, we saw a Masonic lodge, fucking power and gas company, and a bank. Pale ale. Interesting. Looks like, oh, it's a liquor shop with these kids. Everybody's transient too. Look, in the Turkish town, you saw even in the small rundown town, you had a bakery where people sat. These guys are maybe going surfing or kayaking, but they're very transient. There are like no places where you can hang out and sit down. That's bizarre. Not even at the Main Street Bistro. Okay, some food places here. What the fuck is this? Boon, eat, and drink. Ay, ay, ay. This is a nice place, but sit indoors in California. Look, the streets are almost worse than Turkey, I must admit. Look at these cracks. This is an interesting place, but it's also a bit depressing. It looks like a sideshow kind of place. Like it everywhere looks like a front. River time. Okay, I could restaurant and bar. Why are they so afraid of the exterior? Like you always have to go in somewhere to do something. And the nature is beautiful. But yeah. Very American, says Botfly. Jerry Caleb says the mini grocery store near where my brother and mother used to live was inside an old pest control company building, had a sign and everything. 815 says America heavily lacks third places. Calliope Crane says Turkey creates living communities outside and breathable. Same, not just in Turkey. Let's go to Romania. Or that was the Eastern Bloc. The outdoors of American towns do not want you there. That's one of the nicest things about my channel. This is so I'm helping Americans and non-Americans interact and compare their life experiences. I think that's like a cooler thing than all tomorrows or whatever. In Turkey, junk food snacks are common in gas station stores, even plush toys for children. Onur Taner actually did a typo saying even plush toys or children, implying that kids are sold. Let's go to like, I don't know, France. France is an enormous country. Let's go to Rodez. Just drop a man. More manicured and there's some kids out from school. Actually, wait. Let's look at supermarkets, okay? See, look, even in France, they're all inside the city. You know, they're not out here in the fucking D188 junction. Conella Market. Okay. I think Europe is more of an acquired taste. But here, you snack time, kebab tacos. Then they changed Carthage. A more some sort of Portuguese shop. Even in Europe, in this town, I must admit the vitality is missing. It is a more walkable and it doesn't have food. There's a nice shop. There's a restaurant which is slightly more inviting than the place we saw. There's a supermarket. Oh, good. I'm not going to starve. Yes. La Alim Epicerie de Nu. Some alcohol and tobacco shop, probably. But there's a main street, you know. It was designed before the age of. There's a charcuterie, off the meat. But even with all these, I must confess that at least this part of Europe has kind of like fossilized. It's like an ichthyosaur skeleton eroding out of a cliff. A reason there isn't a lot of outdoor seating at restaurants is Americans are afraid of being watched by their neighbors. I think it's just alcohol laws. You can't drink alcohol outdoors in a lot of states. Let's look at one of my favorite places in Crete. Was it Icaria? No, that's the island. Sorry, in Crete, the island was. Let's look at Hania, one of the big cities in Crete. Let's drop a man here. Yeah, this is like the sleepy, ruined Greek aesthetic. It's still like, you see, like 2 steps. Adelphia, Creopolio, butchers. Okay, it's a butchers. See, you can live here. You got air conditioning. Get your meat downstairs. Kartakis. I don't know what that means. There's a supermarket. Okay, we're saved. It's an Arabic shop. Mini market. You see. Crete is nice, says Lexus Galavan. There's crocodiles there. No, they're not. Kuro Minami says, I'm half Cretan. Great. I have a Cretan heritage too. Okay, everybody, this was Crete. This has been 3 hours and almost 2 a.m. I need to go to sleep. Thank you all for your time. And thanks for this great adventure. And, well, thanks for listening to me, your chats, and your contributions. Eleanor Davis says, every time you drop a man in Google Maps, some real random person is just dropped from the sky. Hope with a parachute, too. That's that, everybody. Thanks for your time. I'm going to change the light to night mode now, blue. And once again, if you listen this far on the replay, consider supporting me on Patreon. And as always, this has been CM Kozeman. Eleanor Davis says EP, I'm EP2. Good night. And I love you all. Blah.